today, and I heard Tammy Cameron's testimony at Druid Thursday last month, and I was blown away. And so Audra and I just knew that she needed to be on our next God's View. And Tammy Cameron has been at our church for about a year, and she has been married 29 years to her husband John. They have 2 children, Hayden and Mackenzie. And so I know that she has had a very full life, but she has a special testimony of obstacles. We are talking about overcoming obstacles because we all have some sort of adversity in our life. And Tammy has had some extreme adversity, and so she is coming. She's come here today to talk to us about that and to share her time with us. Tammy, tell us your story. What happened to you?
I was at a women's Bible study at a different church, and I felt kind of nauseous, and I had a severe headache. So I thought I will go to the bathroom, and maybe I'll feel better, because I don't know what's happening. So I went to the bathroom, and I knew I wasn't going to go out. I knew I was going to pass out. So I just remember saying, "Help me," and I did pass out on the floor. And the rest of the story, people had to tell me because I don't remember anything. But apparently my pastor came in there, and I had very high blood pressure, and like it was 200 over 300. It was very high, and he said it was very red. So he called immediately. They called 911, of course, and we had a police officer in our congregation who knew the ambulance people, so they came right away. But he called my husband and said, "Something's wrong with Tammy," and he didn't know. He's like, "I know." But anyway, he said, "No, really, something's wrong with her about the ambulance and everything they're doing," and immediately he thought blood pressure. So I have 2 kids, and at the time it's been about 5 years. So Hayden was about 14 or 13, 14, and Mackenzie was about 10. So he didn't want to frighten my kids. So he didn't want to say, well, anything really, except for what we're going to do and keep it calm. And it's in my truck. And they went to he called my Aunt Nancy and told her, "I don't know why, but Tammy's in the hospital and you need to get there." And she's the one who called everybody. And they knew about nothing. And so they'd go to the hospital, and the way that it was set up, that they got there first before my husband did. So they, in the ambulance, my heart stopped beating 3 times. So they stopped the ambulance, and the supervisor said, "No, my march." So he came, and he came in the back of the ambulance, and he pumped my chest, and pumping on my chest. So when we arrived at the hospital, my family, the ambulance came, and my family was standing there. They don't know anything. And the ambulance doors open, and the guy was pumping my chest, and all the way in the gurney and taking me inside. And that's the first thing my mama and my aunt and my whole family, everything saw was like they're panicking. And so anyway, when my husband goes there, I had a hemorrhagic stroke, and it's very severe, and most people do not survive. So they told my husband that about she might not survive. So he was there with my pastor at the time. So he was he was scared, and he didn't know and everything. And so he's like, I remember he told my pastor, "I think she wants to go home with Jesus. She wants to come stay here. We need her."
Yes.
That's sweet, isn't it?
Yes.
So anyway, so all these things happened, and I was in the hospital in ICU and everything. and I was kind of in and out. But I remember when first time I came to and out, my mama crying, and I thought, well, it must be severe if she's crying. And then I went out, and then the next thing is like my other pastor, like 2 pastors came, and I thought, oh, this must be really bad. So anyway, so I don't remember how long I stayed in the hospital, but they had to go because they thought they were going to die. They did surgery and they shaved my head and everything. So anyway, on the rehab hospital, they after everything was done, the Reliant Rehab Hospital said it's a brand new facility, and they donated for free for me to come there. And thank goodness, because they had nurses there. My therapist, I had 3 different therapists. I mean, I lost all my balance, so I can even sit up in the bed and the alarm would go off and our nurse would run in. I can walk. I can take a shower. I can brush my teeth. I could not go to the bathroom. They had to put the catheter. I mean, all kinds of things.
Now, you also lost your speech.
Yes.
Right. Now,
Yes.
when you were going through that, could you, like inside, could you think logically?
Yes.
So you could think normally, but you could not
Express
communicate
myself. Yes.
what you were feeling.
Yes.
And that had to be frustrating.
And yes, it's very frustrating. People thought I was something wrong with my mind, so they would comment like when it was an question. So I was like, and before my stroke, I preached a lot and talked and everything. And then when I had the stroke, I couldn't do any of that. And it's like it's amazing. I mean, I felt very, very like I lost my ministry thing. Like
You were also involved with horses, right? You had.
I was a horse trainer. So people come and bring their horses, like never ridden, like ladies who never put the saddle on, or yes, like that.
First, you
And
weren't
then
able
when
to
I
do
had
that.
a stroke and couldn't feed any horses, or we had boarding horses and horses in training, and then we had the arena and the 8 acres and land. It was awesome. That's a testimony itself that came about. But anyway, I had to quit that and move from Cleveland to Spring, and that was traumatic for me.
Right. Well, we're glad that you're here,
Yes.
even though you had to give up a lot to be here. So you got home, and so you are still in therapy. Is that right? Are you still doing?
No, I'm in working out.
You're working out. That's
Yes,
right. Which is
yes.
therapy for some of us.
When it ended, yes. Therapy when it ended is like when the insurance went out and everything. It's $150 an hour, and I had 3 therapists. So times 3
Oh, yes.
every hour. So it's like it quit. And my husband was he started working again. He's a project manager, and so he does jobs and things like that. And he's trying to start his own company in inspection homes. So it's like double things to do. So at that time, he's gone a lot. And I can drive. I can. My kids became teenagers, so. Enough said.
Yes,
my
just
son got
bombarded.
a job and he started college, and I mean I was by myself a lot, whole hours.
So what did you do? What sustained you, and what kept you from going crazy?
Well, actually, I'm really God and intimacy with God, not religion, because religion and steps and formula would not have worked for me. When you move from one place to another, when I moved here in Spring, I couldn't find a church. I tried all kinds of churches, but I found out well, maybe God is trying to say it's not time for me to find a church. And and I learned to hear His voice. I learned, really, God is all you need. When He's all you have, He's really. It's not just a saying. He was right there.
So your life slowed down.
Yes, it slowed way down.
So
everything, it not slowed down, it stopped. It stopped. It was like a rug. Like my life, everything fell apart, seemingly.
Everything that you held dear.
Yes.
Because you had your husband and your kids.
Sell my horses.
But, yeah.
And I see my kids. We prepared them for it, but you can't prepare when it's their horse. When they said, well, that's always my horse and the tractor, and it felt like a death. And our home was foreclosed on during that time. So I had to move, and it was a Christian going through all these things. I must be doing something wrong.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you. Did you ever wonder, why me? Because I've served you before. I'm preaching your word. I'm ministering to other people, giving out of myself. I've been faithful. Why me?
Yes. Well, God, before my stroke, told me He's going to put me on display. And I thought, what is this display? So I turned the TV on, and Creflo Dollar was talking about display. I was like, oh, it must be for me. So he's talking about when a teenager gets a car on Friday night, they wash it and wax it, and they put it on display for everybody to see. So I thought, wow, I'm going to be on display for God. Yay. And then I had a stroke. So I was like, is this display? I didn't know that meant that. All the things that happened, and like I said, with God being able to He was right there, and He would be my encourager. He'd be my warrior. I had to learn to war. I said to God, when I finished emotional crying and everything, I said, God, why did I have a stroke? And He said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. For when you're weak, and I was weak at my weakest point, then you're strong. So it's like He broke me, shattered me. And I remember God gave me the scripture about being in God's hands. Nobody can snatch you out of my hand. And He has the ocean. The oceans and the water can only go so far. It's contained. So if I'm in His hand and I feel shattered and broken and torn, I can only go so far. He knows. I have a bird feeder, and the sparrows come and eat on the bird feeder. So I look everywhere in my house, I can see them eating on it. So it reminds me. His eye is on the sparrow, so He's watching over me. He knows how many hairs on my head are. And He chose to break, all those things to make it bigger. It's like Jesus when He died on the cross. And He commended Himself to His spirit to God. He didn't know what's going to happen. But look what happened. He could have stopped everything, and the miracle right there, all the angel came, but He went through the thing. He commended Himself to God in God's hand, and through that, He was rose from the dead. He saved us all. Look at all that He said, the right hand of the Father. Look at all that happened. But first He had to go through the process of committing Himself. He sweated drops of blood. Agony. And go ahead.
Well, what? Because I know that you've grown. Anybody that goes through something like, like you've gone through is going to grow. Did you grow in areas that you didn't expect? You come out and you say, hey, I'm really strong in this, and I didn't.
Yes.
I've never been that way before.
Yes. Well, a lot of areas. And God knows. It's like value, my value. I had a Pally Royal
Right.
Of all places, I was standing there, and there's this other lady standing there. And we heard a loud noise, and we were like shocked. And with that, she said, "Well, what happened to you?" Like I was walking funny or something. So I opened up and told her, and she told me about what happened to her. She was a firefighter back in the day when they didn't have women firefighters, and she was black, and she encouraged me so much. She said, we had church right in the Palo Rural. I prayed for her. She prayed for me. We hugged each other. It was definitely, we forgot everybody around us. And we're in Palo Rural. She said, you have to know who you are, and you have to know whose you are. So and the enemy will lie to me. He lied to us all. And you have to know whose you are.
Well, first, when I knew you were coming on God's View, I was thinking to myself, and even when you gave your testimony in Terrific Thursday, we all tend to put ourselves in your place and think, how would I deal with this? And how would I react? And I think my first reaction, besides why me, would be self-pity. Feeling sorry for myself. And so did you go through that process?
Yes. So it's the enemy's weapon. Woe was me.
Right.
At the time, I lost all my friends. And nobody to pray for me, nobody to talk to, because they couldn't understand me anyway. I was all by myself, me and God and my husband. That's it. So I was woe is me, I wish I had friends. And that scripture is amplified, but it's talking about the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. If you needed friends, you'd have them. You have everything you need to serve me, to be a Christian. Everything, you're not lacking anything. So the enemy's trying to get eyes on what we don't have, what we're lacking, seemingly lacking. I don't have this, and I can't walk. I can't run. I can't jump. I'd go to the gym sometimes and come home crying because I couldn't do what they were doing. Oh, that's another broken thing. But God, He speaks life, not death. So He was an encourager. He could have healed me right then. He could have not had me have a stroke. But I have to know He did it for a reason, and the reason what prison to the multitude. When Jesus fed the multitude and satisfied their hunger, He broke the bread. They gave what they had. You know the story. And they gave what they had to Jesus, and He gave thanks, and He broke it and presented to His disciples, and they satisfied their need of hunger. So He's going to do the same thing with me. And when I'm here, He said, I give Him what I have. Which ain't much.
Well, that's all He wanted. The widow's mite
Yes.
was blessed because she gave out of her need.
Yes.
You had also mentioned the story in the Bible about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and how that ministered to you. You share that, and how what you gleaned out of this.
Well, I gleaned a whole lot because there's large stories that God went further than just reading the Bible and just knowing scripture. It's God like teaching me. The Holy Spirit took it like speaking to me at all kinds of times, at different times. And you have to know. But anyway, with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, first of all, they were slaves in the foreign land. And everybody knows the story. And they went to fire. Before they went to the fiery furnace, they didn't bow down to the golden image Nebuchadnezzar put up. He put like a 9-foot golden image. He's full of himself, isn't he? So people, they made like a decree. When you hear music, you bow down and worship the image. And you get like the king is awesome, kind of thing. Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that's their slave names, by the way. but they didn't bow down to it. So people told the king, hey, these are the 3 Jewish people are not doing that. So they brought him before it, and he said, this is true, and you're not bound before my image. So they said, he said, well, he gave him one more chance. And they said, well, you can go ahead, we're not going to bow down. And the scripture about they didn't bow down, and they didn't know. They could have died in the fiery furnace. We know the whole story, but they didn't know. They had to commit themselves to God. Never die. God is able. They knew. God is able to save me from the fiery furnace, from your hand.
They didn't get angry.
Yes, but if he don't, we're still going to do it. So the king Nebuchadnezzar got mad. He did the furnace 7 times harder. Can you imagine? And the people that bound Shadrach and Meshach and the army soldiers that put them in there died. It was so hot. So and you know, and then when God not only did He save those 3 boys, they made a law that if you don't worship or God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who saved, nobody else, no other God can save like that, our God. And God was magnified in the whole kingdom, not just they used their life. And that's intimacy. They had to know God intimately.
Yeah, that story is, I see how it ministers to you because you had to rely on God that He knew best.
Yes.
And that you were in the palm of His hand. And, I also see that you had to be humble. And it takes humility to succeed. So can you tell, these women out here, how God used your humility to succeed? Because I know that they're going through obstacles, as we all are. We're going through adversities. And some of us are angry. Some of us are feeling sorry for ourselves. We're in a rut. We don't know how to get through this obstacle. But I really believe it. The reason that you have come out of it is because you have shown some characteristics. God has led you into, grown you into humility and trust, and faith. So minister to those women and let them know how God used that in your life.
Okay. Well, in intimacy, I can come back to that. You really have to have a relationship with the Almighty God. You have to know Him, not just His Word, not just church fellowship, which is all necessary, but it starts with God, and it branches out to His tool things. So for me, I didn't, like I said, I didn't have anybody. But God knew that, and He took that personal time to quit me. He put me in the fiery furnace to purge me. And at that time, I was thinking I had severe depression and suicidal thoughts and all those things. And I was thinking, if you're a Christian, how can you have any of that? I must be doing something wrong. Just think Scripture, be positive. Pull yourself up on the bootstraps. It's not like that. So, having been there, you can minister to people in a way that you couldn't. Like, I never had a child die, so I couldn't minister to a woman who had a child die. But I can minister to somebody who's been in depression or suicidal thoughts or whatever, because I've been there.
Well, most of these women, if you were around them, you might not even know that they're going through this battle. So what do you say to them? Because usually they isolate themselves. If they're going, you were isolated. You didn't isolate yourself, but you were probably isolated because women didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Probably. They felt uncomfortable maybe.
Yes.
and maybe that's why, you lost your friend. So, how can we help these women? Who encouraged you, and what did they say? What did these women say to you that helped you finally? I mean, what did they say that encouraged you? So, say it to them. Say it to these women who are broken.
Okay. Well, God is an awesome encourager. He knows what we need when we need it. And for me, it's a visual thing. Visual. So the story about when
Show
Joshua.
her. This is your memorial board?
Inspiration board.
Sorry, I'm calling it a memorial board because you mentioned this at Terrific Thursday, and it meant so much to me. So I thought, I'm going to go home and I'm going to make a memorial board. So with that said, I think they're going to get, yes, they've gotten a picture of it. So explain about your inspiration board.
Okay. Well, a story when Joshua, before he brought the children of Israel into the promised land, they crossed the Jordan on dry foot,
Right.
and the priests had to take it out 12 memorial stones. So, and remember what happened there, and to tell their children, and it's kind of memory. So I thought, well, God told me to put my 12 memorial stones. So it's just for me, but the pictures are just for me. So I would put things that I knew that God was with me. It had to be God.
So they were reminders.
It's like an
They were
inspiration,
visuals.
like an
Okay.
encouragement for me.
Right.
And it's very visual. So at times you think you never forget, but you do.
Yes.
Sometimes you feel self-pity
Right.
and doubt and
So it helps.
discouragement.
It helps you cast
But
down the
when you look at that,
imaginations.
you thinking, you know what? God is with. He had to be with me in that, and that did start inspiring me.
So it helped you combat what Satan was throwing at you.
Mm-hmm.
So you had these visuals, and you could say, "No, God did this, and
Yes,
God did,"
yes.
And I grew up counting my blessings. Anytime I would be forlorn, I would say, "Wait a minute." God has done this, and I've got this. So after I count my blessings in
That's
reminder,
like that,
so it was
yeah.
almost a mental inspiration board. But this is wonderful. Your kids get to
Yes.
see this, and
Well, that's totally God for me.
yes,
It's
that was a
my
wonderful
intimate
idea.
time and looking at them.
Right.
It's
Well,
scary.
I remember
And
that.
this mask, we had a mask at our church,
Oh, okay.
and I related to them all. But this mask for me is like perfection.
So you had it at your other church. Did you
No,
come to the
this
one here at Spring?
church.
Okay. Yes.
And they
Okay.
had unmasked.
It's a wonderful event.
And they
Yes.
had all kinds of masks.
Right.
Like jealousy. Or if you seen that through that eye, they contain everything you're looking at. Well, mine was perfection. I could relate to them all.
Right.
I could wear them all. But this one kind of jumped out at me because and God used that. Like sometimes He would say at different times in my, I can understand what's going on. He was telling me I'm looking through the eyes of perfection, and I was thinking, oh, or that's totally intimate right there. Because when you're walking, if you're in church, if you're whatever, your quiet time, you expect God to speak to you. But what about when you're in the grocery store or something? So it take God. God said, "Come, follow me. I'm going to make you fishers of men," to the disciples, and that's my inspiration. I want to be just like them.
Right.
And so, so following God, so you have to hear His voice. You have to combat the lies of the enemy, other people, other meaning the other
people.
Christians.
Yeah.
If God didn't say it, then
Well, they affect us the most, probably the other Christians, and God has brought you all the way through, and He's still working on you like He is all of us. But He gave you a ministry through this,
Yes.
called
reach.
Reach, and Tammy is on Facebook, so you can go to facebook.com/reach Reach Ministries with Tammy or Tammy Cameron?
Tammy Cameron.
With Tammy
I
Cameron.
don't think it's last year. I think it's Rich Ministries
Okay.
with Tammy Cameron.
Okay. All right. So you